Hello and welcome. Today, I'm going to figure out why my CB360 is not running. Since the winter season, it's been locked in the shed for several months. Sorry, my camera's dirty. I should have done this before. I was going to stream this on my phone, but you have to have at least 50 subscribers, so that got canceled. But anyway, I'm going to go over how I approach when something's not running after sitting for a while. And hopefully, if you're having the same problem, is my microphone working? Check. Okay. Sorry. You can figure out what's wrong with your bike too. And there's a million of these videos out there. So if this one doesn't help you, I'm sure you'll be able to find one that does. And going along the way, I'll try to suggest things you can look up to see if you might be having certain problems with your bike. Okay, well, let's get started. To drag my laptop all over the place. Here. There it is. So first thing I'm going to look at is, does it start? I already know the answer is no, but might as well just do it. Give it a shot. Why not? Does it have power? When I turn it on, do I get a neutral light? Yes. The battery in here is good. I have a green light. I'm in neutral, I think. Yeah, it's a neutral. It's got gas in it. Sounds like it's got gas in it. Okay, should have started by now. Is my kill switch off? No. It's in run mode. Key is on. Horn works. That's supposed to be a starter motor, but I think it has a Bendix gear. If your starter motor is making that sound, look up Bendix gear or something like that. Basically, it's got a little gear that's supposed to shoot out and engage with the motor when you push the start button. And this sound, oops, that's the horn. That's the sound of that gear not shooting out and engaging. It's not that hard to fix. Just got to take the side cover off. On the other side, there's a cover like this. Take all those screws out, pop it off. You can get to the Bendix gear usually. I haven't done it on this bike, so I'm not 100% sure, but mostly sure. So the first thing I want to do, this bike ran in the fall, so it should be fine. There's a couple things. If you're new to bikes, there's a couple things you need to know to make a bike run. Got to have, I wrote these down because this is class. Compression, spark, and a good fuel and air mixture. So this bike ran last year, ran pretty good. So I'm going to assume it has compression. But a way that you can test that is to take the spark plug out, put your finger over the hole, turn the motor over. If you don't feel any air pumping in and out of there with your finger on the hole, you don't have any compression. Now, whether it's good compression, that's another question. You need a little compression tester. That's not that hard. You can rent those from AutoZone. They just screw right into the spark plug hole. No big deal. You can look up what good compression would be for your bike and see if your bike matches up. Just screw it into the hole, kick it over a couple times, see what number comes out. There's tons of videos on that. Anyway, let's keep going. So I'm going to assume I have compression because I tested this last year. And it was good. It was running last year. I'm going to check if there's spark. Maybe like a mouse got in here and chewed up all my wires or something. So I'm just going to make sure I actually have spark. So I'm going to pop this off. What you can do is take your spark plug out, plug it back into here. Take your spark plug out, plug it into here, and then you have to touch it somewhere to the motor to ground it out. I have other spark plugs. I'm just going to try one of those first. Okay, just have another random spark plug. It's not the same one, but should be fine. So I'm just going to ground it out, make sure that it's touching the motor somewhere. And I'm going to turn it over. Hopefully my starter gear works. Nope. Wait for it. Wait for it. Maybe this time. Nope. Wait. Okay. Here, we're going to do this. And I'm going to watch the spark plug to see if I get a little spark. I'll show you right here. If this is your first time, should be a little spark that jumps from the end of this part to this hook. So it's going to kick it over. Oh boy. It's actually easier to do if you take your spark plugs out because then you don't have compression and you can turn it over. Okay, I saw a spark. All right, so we have spark, which I figured would be fine. I didn't think any mice got in here and ate this thing. So there's a couple things that can be wrong with your spark. Your timing can be off. You can have weak spark from high resistance in your plug caps. But I don't think that's the case because this thing was running last winter. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with the spark. What usually happens when your bike sits over the winter is your gaskets all gummed up in here in your carburetors, or your float needle gets stuck and it's not letting the fuel into the carburetor. We'll go over that because I'm going to go down to the next step. So if you have spark and you have compression, your next thing to look at is going to be your fuel air mixture. So that all happens here in the carburetor, in this general area, this thingy. And what happens is the fuel comes from your tank, goes into here, goes into these bowls. Let me show you here. Well, this part of the carburetor right here is a little bowl that's always full of a certain amount of fuel. And if that fuel level's off, or if the valve that controls how much fuel is in the bowl is stuck, you don't have the right amount of fuel in here, you're not going to get the right fuel air mixture to run the bike. So first thing I'm going to do is make sure that the gas is flowing from the tank to the valve or to this bowl. To do that, I'm going to make sure that fuel switch is on. So here's our fuel switch, and it is in the off position. That would be embarrassing. So let's turn it on. I'm actually going to turn it on reserve because I'm not sure how much gas is in the tank. Oh, so I don't know if you can see this. Yes, fuel is dripping out. That means that the float valve, or the valve that controls how much fuel goes into this bowl, is stuck open. And sometimes you can remedy that with a little tap. If you just take a hammer or a wrench or something and just kind of see if it'll loosen up and unstick itself. We're not going to get that lucky today. So I'm going to turn the gas off so it stops leaking all over the floor. And we're going to take these carburetors off. And so here we go. Mine's is still dirty. Oh no, it's getting worse. All right, I'll fix it in a little bit. So to get to your carburetors, it's easier if you take the tank off and the seat off. And if I remember correctly how to do that, oh, well, this is supposed to be attached usually. It's usually stuck on this hinge. It's supposed to be attached to the seat, but it's not. So my seat should be real easy to take off. There's a keyhole over here. If I remember correctly. There you go. So usually this will swing up like this on that hinge, but it's broken on the other side. So it just comes off, which is actually nice. I like that. Seat off. Next, we want to take the tank off. These tanks, sometimes on these older bikes, they have a tube that goes from this side of the tank underneath the frame to the other side of the tank. They're a pain in the ass because if you have gas in your tank, you have to disconnect those tubes. You have to figure out how to get the gas out or just be okay with it spraying everywhere. But on this one, I don't have that tube. I'm not sure the name of it exactly, but I don't have one. So all I have to do is make sure that the fuel valve here is turned off. And I'll disconnect these fuel lines. Just yank them off, probably. Oh. Yours might have like little clamps on them, but mine doesn't. So now the tank is disconnected from all the fuel lines. And I don't think I have the bolt. There's usually a bolt right here, keeping the tank on. I don't have one. So I'll just pull up, pull back. There we go. Tank is off. All right. Now you have better access to carburetors here. Got to take the air filters out, which I think you just pull this away from the bike like that and then lift up. Some bikes are different. I got one on this side. I'm going to do the same thing. Then you have, oh man, this is so bad. Let me try to clean this up a little bit. A little better. Okay. Next thing to do, these are the covers for your air filters. You have one on either side. They're connected by a bolt that goes all the way through. I think this is 10 millimeter. It's not. I think that's a quarter 20, which they're not usually like that. That one's just aftermarket. It's an expensive upgrade. Let me see. So it should be a 10 millimeter, but on mine it's a 7/16. So I'm just holding the bolt on the other side with a wrench. Pull it out. There you go. I got the nut in here. This bolt. Bam. Set that aside. This cover comes off. Hopefully. There we go. Then you got a couple of, well, just one 10 millimeter bolt here. Same thing on the other side. Okay. Next, to finish taking the air filters off, we have these. It's going to be tough to see because I can't stream on mobile because I don't have enough subscribers. So these hose clamps here. So you're just going to take a Phillips head screwdriver and loosen those. Maybe you can do this. How's that? Not much better. Let's try this. We're doing it live. And come on, stick to something. There you go. Now you can see it. I'm just gonna do one of these. Loosen that up. You don't have to take it all the way off, just give it so it's loose. And then you should just be able to slide these air filters out. Whoop. There you go. I'm gonna do the one on the other side real quick. All right. So now we have the air filters off. Oh shit. Got a bunch of gas all over my computer. Hang on. It's not good for it. The mouse still works. Wish I could stream on my mobile device, but I don't have enough subscribers for that. Hopefully I just didn't ruin my computer. All right, anyway, as I was saying. We've got the air filters off the carburetors. Now we just have to disconnect the carburetors from whatever they're attached to on the motor. Usually that's a throttle cable and a choke cable on these older bikes. Actually, we don't have a choke cable. We just have a main, like a choke right here. So we just have 2 throttle cables. Yes. And actually, we don't have to disconnect those right now. It would probably be easier just to loosen these hose clamps that are holding the carburetor to the intake on the motor, and then pop the carburetors out of those so we can turn them a little bit, and then we'll be able to get to the throttle cable a little bit easier. So we'll just start with that. When I say loosen the hose clamps, they're already pretty loose, which is not supposed to be the case. But I'm doing this one on this side, and I'll come around and show you the other one. Yeah, that's loose. I didn't even tighten that. It's a genius move on my end. All right, so the hose clamps are loose. We should be able to just pop this carburetor out of here. Just give it a tug. I'll give you a better look, but not too close. I don't want to fill up my computer with gasoline. Oh! I did not get more gas on the computer, but these fuel lines they are full. They have gas in them, and it is spraying on everything. That's all right. We got the carburetors out of the intake boots. So now we can kind of get at the top a little bit easier. I'll show you what I'm looking at here in a second. Not too close. Okay, I don't know if you can see this because I'm streaming on my laptop because I don't have enough subscribers to do mobile device. But where is it? Okay, these 2 cables right here. They just have little 10 millimeter nuts on them. Loosen the 10 millimeter nuts. You can slide them out of their brackets. And I think this one here, it's threaded into its bracket. So you just unscrew the whole cable. And this one, you undo the nuts. You'll see. It'll be pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to bust that out real quick. I'm just unscrewing the cable now. There you go. So the cables are loose from the brackets, but they're still attached on the actual throttle. So this gives you enough slack to kind of pull the cable out. And then let me get these carbs out and I'll show you how this attaches so you can see what you're doing. Sometimes it can be kind of tricky figuring out which way the carburetors are supposed to come out. I think they go out kind of weeble wobble them until there's something that makes sense. There we go. It's not always this easy. Don't get sad if you're having a hard time. All right. My computer. See these little, I don't know what these are called on the end of the cable, but just pull the cable and there'll be a slot for the actual like wire part to come through. You just pull them out to the side. Bam. Same thing for the other cable. Oh, I can't really see that. Whoop. See this wire coming out? Just push it out the slot. Sorry for my 2012 megapixels here. This is streaming on my computer. All right, carburetors are free. Now we can take a look at what's going on inside, figure out why this bad boy is not starting. So let's go to the bench. Move the stroller. All right. Now there's going to be some gas left in these. So I'm going to get a little tray to dump it out in. The Samaritan's Purse Christmas Child. These carbs have... Oh! Oh! I am so dumb. Live. Man, I wish I had enough subscribers so somebody could actually see this live. But when I put this bike away before the winter, I unscrewed the drains for the carbs. So this is a drain screw. You open it up, all the fuel in the float bowl comes out. That way, over the wintertime, your fuel doesn't get all gummed up in there. And I did that to avoid this whole process that I'm doing right now, but I forgot that I did that. So these drain screws are they're just chilling. They're not tight. They are definitely backed out. So that's why the fuel was coming out of the bowls, because the drain screw was open. So I probably didn't have to do all this. I probably could have just closed the drain screw and the bowls would have filled up to the appropriate level like they did last year before I put it in the shed. And then I could have kicked it over and it would have started. And that also explains why I'm holding these upside down right now and there's no fuel just going everywhere. Usually these bowls have fuel in them still, unless you drain them. So that's embarrassing, but that's why we do it live. This is real life, people. I'm going to go ahead and tighten these bad boys. Going to grab a screwdriver. I'll be right back. I have a screwdriver somewhere. Here it is. Oh. All right. Tighten the drain screws. Pop these open so I can show you what I was talking about. Float levels, float needles, whatnot. So what I just did is there's 4 screws on the bottom of each bowl. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I undid these 4, so I'm just pull this last screw out. These bowls have a gasket on them, which is like a little, this one's kind of like an O-ring. It's this black part that goes around the outside of the bowl here. Mine's flat as hell because it's old, but it's still sealing, so I'm just going to leave it there. If you have fuel leaking out somewhere that's not your drain or some like random part, like where this surface meets the surface of the carburetor, you might want to replace this. You can get them when you buy the carb kits for them online. So what I'm talking about, this is the float. It works like a toilet. As the fuel goes in the bowl, this thing's like actually a floaty, so it lifts up and closes the valve when the fuel gets to the right height. And the valve for that is underneath that. So to take this out, there's a pin right here, right there. I'm not going to do this right now because there's a million videos on this, but just going to throw this out here. Pull this pin out. This float pops out. It's going to bring the needle valve out with it. I'm pretty sure mine works because it was, I mean, it's completely dry. Like there's no gas, there's no fuel all gummed up in there. Another thing you're going to want to look for if your bike's not starting this year, these little screws are really precise sized holes called jets. If you're doing your research, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about already, but take these jets out, blow compressed air through them, blow carburetor cleaner through them. Don't take my word for it. Look up how to clean carburetors on YouTube. There's way more in-depth videos. But I'm just kind of giving you somewhere to start. So anyway, I'm pretty sure this carburetor is clean. If it wasn't clean, that would be a good reason why it wouldn't start. And by clean, I mean the fuel sometimes when it gets old, it gets all gummy and like, I can't remember the word for it, but it turns into like a sludge and it clogs up these really precise holes. And it might cause the float needle to stick so that the fuel is just constantly flowing and it's overflowing, which I thought was what was happening, but it wasn't. It was just that my drain screws were wide open. So you would come in here, take these things apart, spray them down with carb cleaner, blow them out with compressed air. Usually 90% of the time, that's going to solve your problem. I'm going to put this back on, and I'm just going to bench test these carburetors to make sure that they don't leak before I go and spend all this time putting it back on. So I'll show you how I do that. Once I put these 4 screws back in. Without dropping them. Okay. Bench test. Come with me to the vise. Oh. Okay, here we are. Sorry about the light. 1 second. Okay. So I'm just going to stick these in my vise. Nice and level like they would be in the bike. Hopefully my vise is big enough. I don't know if it's going to be. Okay, kind of is. All right, I'm just going to very lightly clamp these down level. Relatively level. Okay. Now, I'm going to take, I have my juice bottle gas tank here. Got the Simply Orange fuel tank. I just use this for, like if the gas tank's off of a bike or something, I'll put some fuel in here, hook the hose up where the inlet goes on the carburetor. I'm going to pull this hose off. This was the hose that went right to the gas tank. So I'm pulling this off. These carburetors each have their own fuel line. These days, that's not typical. Usually you see like a fuel rail and it has one place where the fuel line goes and then it distributes. But on these ones, they each have their own. So I'm just going to test them each individually. Oh. Gotta have somewhere to put the gas. This is just something I'm going to hook the fuel tank to so it's higher, so we can gravity feed the carburetors. Put some gas in here. Oh, gas is outside my van. I'll be right back. Okay. Put some gas in this bad boy. Okay, there we go. All right. So I'm going to hang this lower so it doesn't want to go into the carb right away. Plug it in. Boop. Good to go. Turn the gas on. Okay. Now, what I'm doing now is there should be fuel flowing into the bowl. I'm just watching to see if it weeps from any of these seams on the bowl, or if it's leaking. Like if the float needle gets stuck open, it'll just keep letting fuel in until. Oh, it is weeping a little bit. It's kind of wet right here. It's probably because my gaskets are flat as hell. So because this is weeping a little bit right here, you probably want to get a new float bowl gasket, which would come if you just bought a kit, a carb rebuild kit. They usually come with new jets, new gaskets, new O-rings. I'm not going to get that. I think this like little gasket in here might expand a little bit because it's pretty dried out. So as it gets wet with fuel, I'm hoping that it'll just expand and kind of close the gaps. We'll see. I don't care enough to buy a new O-ring or a new gasket, so I'm just going to leave it. But clearly, there's fuel going into this, and it's not overflowing, which means the float needle valve is closing. Let's check the other side. So I'm going to turn the gas off, bring it down here. Unplug this bad boy from right here. Put this one in. Put this back like that. And this fuel line is blocked by the button. Switch sides here. Ooh, it's heavy now because it's full of gas. All right, try the other side. Clamp it relatively level. Oh shit! Whoo! Almost dropped this on the ground. All right, put this Here we go. Okay. I'm gonna pop this line off here. Sorry about the light. All right. Here we go. Now I'm just gonna take this, hook it on here real quick. Put this fuel line in here. Turn the gas on. Whoop. There we go. Let's take a look. So far, so good. I'll just give it a minute real quick. Ooh, overflow. Okay. It's not supposed to do that. Oh yeah, see, it's coming out of all the holes. Just coming out everywhere. So that means the float needle is stuck open. And this is why we test on the bench, because this would be really annoying if this happened after we put it back in the bike. One thing I'm going to try to do is just give it a tap. See if it'll loosen it up. No. All right. Turn the gas off. Pull this bad boy out of here. Stick it back through here. Now we're going to go back to the bench. I'm going to take a look at that float needle. See if I can figure out why it's stuck. Might just need to be cleaned off. Here we go. Oh. I'm going to drain these. Open up the drain on both of them. Yeah. Drain the gas out. A little bit at a time. Just waiting for the gas to drain. Come on. Get in there. Good Lord, hurry up. Oh! That did it. Okay. Oh. Okay. Cool. All right. I can't remember which side was the one. I think it was this side. Yeah, pretty sure it was this side. Unscrew these 4 screws to take the bowl off. Come on. Come on. There we go. So I'm going to take this float needle out and just take a look at it, see why it might have been leaking. I'll clean out the needle seat, which is the little hole the needle goes in. I'm going to check and see if these floats have... I'm just listening for any liquid inside the float because that would mess it up, but it sounds like it's dry. This is the float needle. This little rubber bit on the end here is the part of the valve that actually does the sealing that shuts the fuel off. So we want to look at that. Make sure there's nothing wrong with that. No grooves in it, no cracking. Mine looks pretty good. I'm just going to wipe off the this part, clean it up, because if there's any like dirt or dried up grime or crust on this part, the needle won't slide in and out. So there's not a ton of force acting on this needle because it's just being pushed by floaties, but just want to make sure it's good and clean. You don't, just because the needle gets stuck doesn't necessarily mean you have to replace it. You just have to give it some attention. These old bikes love attention. So the seat's looking a little crusty. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find some, I think I have some steel wool or something around here. I'm going to stick some on a drill bit and just kind of turn it around in there a little bit. Okay, I don't have any steel wool. So I'm just going to take a little drill bit. I'll show you guys the hole I'm looking at here without getting any fuel on my computer. So this hole right here is where the needle goes in. Boop. And that little rubber cone seals against the bottom of this hole. And if there's crust in there, it won't be a good seal. So what I'm going to do is just wrap a little bit of paper towel around the end of this drill bit. I don't want to, by any means, use the actual drill bit on the hole because that will cause some serious problems. But I'm just going to jam this paper towel in there and turn it around a little bit. Still looking crusty. You know what I'm going to do? Actually, I have a cotton tip for my Dremel. I'm going to stick that down there. We're just looking for clean, polished clean. This is the Dremel tip I'm going to use. It's just like, I don't know what you call it. It's just cotton. It's like compressed cotton. So it's not going to scratch. It's not going to grind away the material. It's just going to clean it up. Just going to plug this in real quick. Stick it down there. Playing a dangerous game. I'm gonna pop this seat out. So undo this little screw. I'll get this bracket off. Sometimes you can just pull these out if you're lucky. Take the other end of a drill bit. Nope. It's kind of, here we go. So this is your needle seat. It's not the cleanest. Wow, that does look bad. How did that get so bad? You're not going to be able to see in there, but let's see what we can do. Stick some paper towel in there. I'm just like shoving this drill bit onto the paper towel to just have something to turn the paper towel in there. Give it a little twist, clean it up. Whoop. Looks bad. Let me see if I have another needle seat. Bye. Love you. Okay. I don't have another one, so I'm going to have to get creative and figure out how to clean this up. It just looks, I don't know how it got so bad. Let me spray some carb cleaner in there. All right. When you're cleaning carburetors, compressed air is your best friend. So I'm just going to spray some carb cleaner through this hole. Blast it with this compressed air. Hold on tight. Don't let it go flying. And yeah, it just looks, I don't know how to explain this without having a magnifying glass, but that little hole in there, the rim around it is, it looks like someone's been like jabbing at it with something hard, like it's all dinged up. Not 100% sure what to do about that. Typically, I would just order a new valve seat. I don't have time to do that. Maybe it's just crust. Let me try something else. What I usually do in a situation like this is steel wool. A little bit of steel wool down there. It's more aggressive than paper towel, but it's not aggressive enough that I'm gonna like gouge anything. I just need to find it if I haven't. On this. I don't love it. Let me see what else I have in my Dremel case. This wire brush for the Dremel. I don't know if this is going to work. But we'll see. It's going to thread all these wires in there. Come on. There we go. All right. There you go. It's a little cleaner. The reality is that this just, I need a new seat. And typically these seats come with car rebuild kits, so that would solve a lot of my problems. New seat. It would come with a new O-ring here, which would seal better, which actually that could be the problem too. New gasket, float bowl gasket, new jets. I don't really need new jets, but and they're like, I don't know, $15. So anyway, I'm just going to try to put this back in. We'll see what we get. Oh, blow some air through fuel intake here. Make sure there's no gunk in there. Press that in. Just pushed it in upside down. So it's going to very gently pull that back out. Put it in the right way. Put the, sorry guys, put this little bracket back on there. Just hold that down. float bowl. Don't need that yet. Need the needle. So, oh man. Hang on one second. This looks bad. Maybe draining the carbs is not best case. I don't know where this gunk came from, but I figured draining the carbs would be better than nothing, but some people put fuel stabilizer in there so they don't get all this powdery nastiness that comes from dried up gas. Just Google winterizing your motorcycle. You'll find all kinds of solutions. Well, let's see if that seals. We can test it right now. Go stick it in the vise. We have our exposed float here. Just put it in the vise where I can get to it. And hook up the fuel line. Let me get a light going. Get the Simply Orange fuel. Turn the gas on. Okay. So it seems like the float needle is sealing well enough. I'm putting very small amount of pressure on this. Now when the fuel runs out of the bowl, the float comes down, lets more in, float goes up. Very small amount of pressure on there right now. So we might actually have a good seal. Next step is to put the bowl back on and see if the pressure from the float on its own is enough to close the seal. And then if that works, we'll put it back on the bike. We'll go for a ride. Thanks for sticking around, guys. It's only been an hour. Just remember, you may only be an hour away from riding your motorcycle this spring. So, yeah. If you're not in a hurry, it would make a lot of sense for you to just order a carb rebuild kit. Make sure, because they usually come with new needles too, so your seat and your needle are going to be fresh. You're not going to have to worry about issues with them sealing. It'll take 2 days to ship, you know. Just do it. For me, maybe I'll still do that. Okay, we're going to need to put the drain plug back in here. Almost forgot that again. Go, 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 go. There we go. All right, let's test if the needle can hold its own. All right, here we go. some of you who are watching, which is nobody right now, but maybe later somebody will watch this, and they'll see that I might have just done all this on the wrong side. It might have been this carburetor the whole time, not this one. I don't know. I can't remember. So far, everything's looking good. Just gotta wait at least a minute or so. Got a little bit of weeping going on at the gasket surface. Just tighten these screws, just make sure. You don't want to super crank these, but medium crank is not a terrible idea if you have an old gasket like this. There we go. All right. That one's not overflowing. Let's check and see if I was doing the wrong carburetor the whole time. Does the other side overflow? I don't think I did that. I don't think I switched them. I think I was working on the right one. We'll see. And where does the gas go in? Oh, hang on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't because I don't think I put the fuel line back on. So that would explain why I couldn't find this. There we go. Okay, fuel is flowing. Just gonna make sure these are good and tight. Well, I'm satisfied. Problem mostly solved. All right. Pull this off. Whoop, there goes my light. Time to put the carburetors back on the bike. Let me get you guys situated over there first. I'm going to dump a little bit of this fuel out so it doesn't get all over my computer again. All right. Thanks for waiting. I'm going to put the throttle cables back on. They only go on one way, on this bike anyway, so it's not hard to remember how to do it.
cable in the thingy, wrap it around, pull it on the stuff, thread it in the stuff. And that's really loose. There we go. And this one, cable in the thingy. Put it on the thing. Make sure it's not so tight that it's pulling your throttle open. Give it a little. Okie dokie. Got the cables in. Ease these in here. There we go, there we go. Come on. Almost there. Okay. Slide them into the intake boots. Sometimes it helps if you put a little bit of lube on there. I'm going to grab some chain and cable lube. It doesn't really matter. I just like using this stuff. It's going to do a little squirt on the rubber boots and a little bit on the carburetor, just to help things slide along here. And line these up. There we go. Give them a shove. That was easy. Screwdriver. Tighten these intake clamps right here. Oh, backyard air gunner, what's up? I just saw your comment. I can see you're not watching anymore, but yes, I still have go-karts. I do have a plan to put a YZ, I think it's an 80-something, 1980-something YZ 250, two-stroke, dirt bike motor on the Unibeef from the other video, the single-seater. Because I was driving around with the CB360 clutch, and it's just boring. It doesn't like going up hills. I don't buy expensive enough Kevlar belts. I just buy the $4 rubber belts, and they burn every time I try to go up a hill. So I had a lot of fun with it. But I do want to do a video series where I'm putting that YZ 250 motor on there, which is a 48 horsepower motor, and it's almost the same size as the Harbor Freight motor that's on there right now. So that will be fun. So stay tuned. All right, got the carburetors on. Sometimes I like to try to start it up without the air filter on, but I think I have embarrassed myself enough. Screw it. I'm going to hook the fuel lines back up, put the gas tank on, try to start it, see what happens. This fuel in here is from last year in the fall. So there's potential that it could be bad gas after all this. Could have bad gas in the tank, but I don't think so. I think it'll still run on this. But if it doesn't run, I'll try that. Okay. Hook these back up. Turn the gas on. Okay. So we have compression, we have spark. Now we should have fuel because we didn't before, because I left the drain screws open. But now we have fuel. So should run. Let's give it a shot. There we go. Oh. Yeah. Snowmobile motor would be fun, but they all still have those CVT transmissions. I want something with gears. You know, something I can pick what gear I'm going to be in. Thanks for watching, by the way. Just been me by myself chilling. But I have a key somewhere here. See if it works. Probably gonna work. Okay, it seems to want a good amount of choke to keep it going, which if I put the air filters back on, that might be all the resistance I need to get the fuel flowing correctly. So reverse. That sounds like fun. Another thing I have is a 1987, I think, TRX 250, old Honda, and that has reverse on it. So that would be fun to build into another kart. Yeah, there are go-karts. There are go-karts in the future here. But yeah, anyway, works better than it did an hour ago. It needs some tuning. I'm going to put the air filters back on. I'm going to adjust the pilot screw a little bit. I shouldn't have to that much because it was in a good spot last year. But overall, also it'll probably run better when it warms up a little bit. But yeah, so if your bike doesn't run when you get it out of the garage in the winter, check to see if you winterized it by just opening the drain screws and you forgot to close them, which is what happened to me. And then do all the other stuff I was looking at. And there's tons of YouTube videos explaining how to do carburetors, how to adjust valves. You can look at that. How to adjust your timing. But if it ran when you put it away and it doesn't run in the spring, it's probably a carburation issue. They're not that hard to get out, dig into, clean them up, put them back on. It took me, we're at an hour and a half. So hopefully this demystified this for some of you.
Backyard Air Gunner, it seems like you probably knew exactly what was going on here, but for anyone who's watching in the future who has no idea how their bikes work, a lot of you guys buy these old Hondas for a couple $100 because you're just getting into bikes, so this might be just for you. Yeah. So thanks for watching, Backyard Air Gunner. I appreciate you. For anyone in the future, have a good time. Hopefully you can ride this spring instead of watching all your friends go up and down the street without you. All right. I'm going to end this, put the air filters back on, take it for a test ride. If something weird happens, I'll put it in the comments later, but thanks for watching. See you later.